Hey everyone, I'm back today with a little bit of a story time. I wanted to share the story of how and when and all the details of how I found out I was pregnant. To me, it's a pretty funny story. If any of you have any funny stories about how you found out you were pregnant, or you made any videos, or even if you're just sharing a story that isn't funny that you found out you were pregnant, definitely share them in the comments below. I love watching these videos and seeing all the different ways that people found out that they were pregnant. So for me, I've been with my husband, it will be 9 years, February 1st, of dating. We've been married since September 9th of this previous year, but we've been together almost 9 years now. So as a lot of my closer friends know, I have thought I was pregnant a million times throughout our relationship. Half of those times there were no good reasons why I thought I was pregnant. I just would always freak out and think I was pregnant. Took a million pregnancy tests throughout my life. Like I said, half of them for no good reasons. I just would convince myself randomly that I was pregnant. So to me, one of the funniest things about finding out I was pregnant, for reals this time, was I did not think I was pregnant at all this time. If I wasn't late on my period, there would have been no other reason for me to think I was pregnant. I felt a little funny the day before I took a test, but I would have never thought it was because I was pregnant. I just didn't think at the time. I think because I was wedding planning, I was so stressed with wedding planning, that's why I didn't get my period, and that was the reason for me. I remember specifically texting my best friend Mackenzie the day before I was at work, and I was like, yeah, I feel a little funny. My period's a day late. That would be really funny if I was pregnant because my wedding's in 3 months from now. I had a very form-fitting dress. We were talking to my mom the night before I took a test too. I talked to my mom on the phone a lot, and I remember saying I was stressed about the wedding and I still needed to get done. And then I remember saying these exact words. I was like, yeah, and I'm 2 days late on my period. That would be the icing on the cake if I was pregnant, wouldn't it? And she's like, oh, you're not, you're fine, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I know, whatever. So the next morning I did have a pregnancy test on me because, you know, I always had them because I'm crazy. And I remember my husband was still sleeping, and I just went in the bathroom because I know in the mornings you're better to get a positive reading if you are pregnant. So I took the test. I went and sat in my room. We have a guest room and my vanity's in there. That's where I get ready in the mornings. And it was a digital one, so I just sat it down on the desk and was waiting for the results. Like I said, at this point, I did not, there was not 1% of me that thought I was pregnant. So I thought it was just gonna say not pregnant, whatever. So as the minutes pass, it says pregnant. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. But there was still a blinking timer thing almost on there. And I was like, oh, it must take a minute for the knot to pop up. I swear to you, in my mind, that's what I actually thought. That, oh, it must be blinking because the knot is going to come up. So eventually it stopped and the blinking said 2 to 3 weeks. And I remember looking down and just being like, what? What? I really, at that point, I did not believe it. Even though it said pregnant on a digital test, I still did not believe it. I remember looking at it, and then the first thing I did, which is so terrible but so funny, I run in here. This is the bedroom that me and my husband sleep in, and he was sleeping. I just remember shaking his body and waking him up and handing him the pregnancy test and in his face. And he looked at it and he was like, wait, what? And I just ran out of the room. I don't even know what his reaction was because I ran out of the room. And he came in, he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, I just took it. I'm like, I don't know. Is it right? I'm not sure. This can't be right. And so I told him, and okay, mind you, this is all happening about an hour before I had to go to work. I was getting ready for work in the morning. I look at him and I'm like, Dan, you need to go to Walmart right now. I need more tests. I don't care what you buy. I need more tests just to see if this is real. Which, looking back on it, a digital test that says pregnant, I don't know how much more real that could get. But I was so convinced that it wasn't. So I'm like, you need to go to Walmart right now. You need to get more tests. So, and frantically get dressed, puts his clothes on, does all this stuff, goes to Walmart. He calls me, he's like, what test do you want? I'm like, I don't care, get one that has 2 in it, just get a couple. And he had to go to Walmart because that was the only store that was open so early. All the stores around us didn't open until after we would have already been at work. So he goes to Walmart, it's about 15 minutes away from us. He finally gets back. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take like 2 more. I took 2 more. They were the stick test, not the digital test, and they were incredibly positive. Not like a faint line positive, I mean, bam, in your face line positive. And I just remember, I'm like, how did this happen? I honestly was in such denial because I just didn't think there was a chance that I was actually pregnant. And I remember me and my husband looking at each other, and we knew we wanted to have kids shortly after we got married. We both wanted kids, everything like that. So it wasn't too far off. Like I said, my wedding was in 3 months. It wasn't too far off, but it was still before the wedding. So it was definitely really unexpected. But we just looked at each other, and he was so just calm, and he's like, you know, well, this will be fine. Like, we'll get through this, blah, blah, blah. And we were just laughing because we were just like, oh my God, like the timing after 9 years of not getting pregnant, how does this happen 3 months before our wedding? My dress that I got for my wedding was really form-fitting. I mean, it had like bone, like, I think they're called like bone things in it. So it was really form-fitting. And I'm like, how am I supposed to fit in my dress? I was 17 weeks when we got married. So I was so scared because I know 17 weeks, some people could be not showing at all. Some people could be showing a lot, and you just don't know. I wasn't worried about our families or anything like that. All of our parents, I mean, have talked about us having babies forever. They've all been waiting for it. So I wasn't worried about that. I was just more worried about, you know, wedding planning, being pregnant. How are we going to do this? How is everything just going to work out? After I took all the tests and they were so extremely positive, I had to go to work 10 minutes later. And I'm like, how am I supposed to sit at work all day knowing the biggest secret and not telling anyone? Like, how am I supposed to do this? Of course, I had to call my best friend. We tell each other absolutely everything. So on my lunch break, I call her and I'm like, Mackenzie, and she's like, what? And I was dead silent for, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds, just dead silent. And she said, no. And I was like, yes. And she's like, no way. And I'm like, I swear to God. And it was so funny because like I didn't even have to say anything, and she already knew because the day before I was telling her how I felt, and like, you know, if I was pregnant, it would be a crazy time. And after that, she was the only person I told. Me and Dan weren't telling any of our families or anything like that, just until we had my first checkup, you know, saw that everything was going good. Told one of his really good friends, and then I told my best friend. So it was nice to have someone to confide in, for sure, because that's a big secret to keep. After all those tests and everything like that, I still in the back of my mind was like, I don't know, like maybe there's like false positives that you can get. Maybe it's not true. Like, I just did not think I was actually pregnant. And so like, I think it was a week later, I took another pregnancy test. And then after that, I still took another pregnancy test because the doctor won't see you until you're so many weeks. So I just kept taking pregnancy tests because in my mind, I was like, no, this can't be real. This can't be happening. After like I think it was like 5 or 6 pregnancy tests, I was like, okay, this is definitely real. I'm definitely pregnant. I can stop wasting my money on pregnancy tests. After that initial shock, I think that day when we came home, both of us from work, we were definitely excited, but just more nervous. It's so crazy to find out. I think for anyone, even if you're planning your pregnancy, it's so crazy when you do find out you're pregnant. It's just like you are about to grow another human inside of your body for 9 months, and you don't know what could happen. There's all these things that go on. So like I said, even if you're planning your pregnancy, it could be such a crazy feeling to find out, oh my God, I'm actually pregnant. So for me, it was a surreal feeling. But after we got over the initial shock, everything like that, we were so excited, and we just couldn't wait to tell everyone. But I just love looking back on that story and thinking, Brittany, why in the world would you think that the timer thing blinking after it already said pregnant, that the not was gonna come up, like not pregnant? I have no idea why I thought that, but I did. I just think it's really funny story to tell, thing like that. And I will say my dress did fit me. I had to go for so many extra fittings. My poor seamstress, she was absolutely amazing, but she made it so I was still really comfortable in my dress, but I don't think I really looked that pregnant. If you look at my Instagram, I have all my wedding pictures on there. You can see how my dress turned out with being 17 weeks pregnant. I think I really started to pop when we went on our honeymoon, actually, which was perfect timing. That's when I actually started to feel her kicking as well. So it was an amazing time. In a way, being pregnant throughout my wedding planning and through my wedding was such a good thing for me in the long run, which I never would have expected. It made me realize how I didn't want to spend all this time and like get so stressed over the dumbest things, like what color napkins I'm gonna have, because who cares? Like what does that really matter in the long run? I'm actually a really high stress person, just naturally all the time. Baby has just chilled me out so much, especially for wedding planning. I just remember people asking me all these questions and I was like, I don't care. Like, the bridesmaids were like, what color do you want our nails? I'm like, I don't care what color you paint your nails, like as long as they're not a bright pink, like whatever. And I feel like if I wasn't pregnant, I would have just been so much more high stress throughout the wedding planning and everything like that. And even on the day of the wedding, for the longest time, it would be such a stressful day for me. And I just remember all my bridesmaids and my mom, they're like, oh my God, you're so calm. Like, are you freaking out on the inside? And I'm like, no, I'm perfectly fine. I remember getting ready to walk down the aisle and I was still so calm. I just feel like this baby has really just calmed me out and made me realize, you know, what's more important in life and not to freak out over the littlest things, especially with wedding planning. It could be so crazy and it could be such a stressful time for people, and you don't want to be stressing over everything. Wedding planning should be a fun time. So I think getting pregnant and having this baby at the time that I am having her, really a blessing in disguise, because it just made everything go so much smoother and it saved me so much stress, honestly, in the long run. So it really did work out. I'm so incredibly excited for her to be here. I just cannot wait to meet her, to see her, for her to just hold her. Like, it's just, I'm just so excited. Like I said, if you have any really funny pregnancy stories or videos that you filmed about finding out you're pregnant, or even just really happy ones or anything like that, I absolutely love watching them. So definitely share them in the comments below. If you like this content, definitely subscribe. If you have any ideas for any other videos you'd like to see, leave them in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching.